What are you gonna do? I don't know. Wish me luck.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another GeekVerse. Well, the final, actually, in this three-part series. We're doing a Daredevil retrospective, and not Born Again. We're getting ready for Born Again. But before we get into all of that, I am one of your hosts. I am at the end, Kirkland Patzer.
I am the Fisk's Pocket, Taylor Field.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we got the pocket, we got the me. We are going to be giving our thoughts on the closing chapter of this portion of the Daredevil show. If you've been living under a rock, you might not know that he's back. Charlie Cox is back. Wilson Fisk is maybe back. So yeah, no, we're closing out this retrospective series here. Make sure to go check out episode 1 and episode 2, of course, if you haven't already, but I'm sure you are if you're here at this point. Who knows, maybe you're just jumping into season 3, you just want to hear our thoughts about season 3, but appreciate you guys for being here. Just quick little batch of plugs to shoot out there. I always get thrown off with these because I forget kind of when they go on the main feeds, but fortunately for us, we're getting close to Born Again, so I know exactly that this is dropping on the main feeds just a couple days after the time of the recording here, so I can safely promote. We got Golden Geeks dropping right now. By the time that this episode is actually live and air, not for the Patreons, because of course the Patreons get everything early, ad-free, exclusive. But yeah, we'll have the Golden Geek results out, I believe. Have you gotten those all locked in? Your votes yet? I know you still got a couple days for the deadline, but
yeah, I gotta put my votes in. I'm always a slow person to do that.
Oh, me too. Travis reminds me like 4 times, like, hey, need them by this time. I'm like, okay, yeah, no worries. But yeah, make sure to go check out that the Golden Geeks nominations episode. That was lots of fun. We also have the MCU Golden Geeks nomination episode on the feeds. We've got Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. That whole review series just ended. That show was quick and short. We also had Dexter Original Sin. That's all done with now. We have Captain America. Tons and tons and tons of reviews and newscasts. We got weekly Geek returning. So yeah, just tons and tons of content. So make sure to go check out the feeds there. That's got all that good stuff on there. And I already mentioned it, but yeah, just doubling down on the Patreon. It's the best way to support us. Get everything early, ad-free, exclusive. Shouts out to our Patreon producers. The highest tier, we got Aaron Braden, April of Darkness, Jack Grant, Sam, Superbad Mike, The Good God Loves Me, The Good God Loves Me 69, and Jeremy Renner. Oh, and of course Charlie Randall. We love each and every one of you. So yeah, I don't know, might have missed something, but I think I got the gist of of the plugs there. So we are here at the end of the Netflix Marvel Daredevil experience here. Is it bittersweet for you, Taylor? I know, like, we don't really have. It's a much different experience for us versus, like, people that would have seen the show right when it came out, because they would have been unsure if they're ever going to see this again. Of course, in this timeline, we have Disney carrying on the Charlie Cox Daredevil with Daredevil Born Again. Have you seen the trailer for Born Again yet?
I don't know which one I've seen, but I did watch one a couple days ago.
You saw him sitting down with someone?
I did, yes.
Okay, yeah, that was what I was trying to stay away, because of course, people don't know what we're talking about. The trailer showed Mr. Fisk, talking to Mr. Murdoch, and it sounds like he seemed like he knew about his alter ego. So I saw that trailer before I saw this season, which of course, minor spoilers, I guess, season 3. That's kind of when that reveal happens. So I got a little bit spoiled of that before I even jumped into this season. But no, I'm really looking forward to the new show there. But yeah, it's kind of a weird feeling getting through this show here, and I know we're seeing a lot of like we have some familiar faces coming into the next show there, but still, it's not going to be a complete continuation from what this show is. It's definitely jumping off from what they set it off here, but it's not like season 4 of this show. Like they completely retitled it, so it is going to be something. Are you excited for that new show? Now that we're in the Daredevil mood, are you getting excited to be born again under the Disney persona?
I am. I very much am. The show, season 3, coming to a close. It is bittersweet. It is sad, but man, it feels good to be just going through it now and knowing that this next season, this new era is 2 weeks away from when we're recording this.
Yeah,
So
that's
that's
right.
absolutely perfect in my books. Just it's gonna feel like there's no time passing at all between season
Mhm.
3 and Born Again. So I'm totally down with that, and I'm excited just to see what these characters are up to in this new season and to see where we're kind of spearheading, because I have certain questions after watching the third season and how that third season concluded. I was asking Travis actually, like, hey, why? Like, what was the plan? Were they going to be going into another fourth season or something like that? And I think he put it like there was something with the rights. Netflix just didn't want to renew it. They kind of canceled all the
Mm.
shows and whatnot. I think didn't want to keep running this character for Disney, Marvel, whatever. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but something to do with rights, as it always is. So I feel like at the time it must have really sucked because some of the things in the season ended very abruptly in that finale, and to know that you're not going to get any kind of continuation from that does really suck. So it's going to be nice to have a little bit more of story expansion with Born Again and a little bit more fleshed outness with these characters. So I'm very much excited to get into it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, no, I'm also excited for the new show. I'm glad we don't have to wait much for that. But just jumping into kind of my overall thoughts of this season here, kind of conflicted on this one. I'm not gonna lie. I straight out the gate, I think I'm just gonna come out hot and heavy and say that this is definitely the worst season out of the three for me. Like with a solid point. We'll see how you feel on there. Maybe I'm gonna get flack from in the comments, or maybe other people have seen the show. But yeah, man, I was pretty disappointed with the season across the board. I think there's some really juicy stuff that happens in here. But for the most part, it just felt like, unfortunately, like a slog to get through. Like I feel like definitely the first half of the season, it felt like it took so long to just get to where we were going. And it's just kind of the whole setup of picking up the pieces from last season. Matt's on the mend and kind of separated from a lot of our other friends for a good portion of the show until like literally that halfway mark. So yeah, it was just not really a good time getting into the season. And not to sound too, all negative, I still think there is some really great moments in here that I did appreciate. I think there were some things that were set up at the start of the season that I was just really uninterested in, and then by the end, I was a little bit more satisfied with it. But just looking back on it, once I got to that point, I was just maybe wishing that they focused in some other avenues there. And it definitely doesn't kill my hype or anything going into the new show Born Again or anything like that, but it's just for how crazy season 1 was, or like how season 1 ended, and then going into season 2. Season 2 was just like a banger, I feel like, from start to finish. Ended in a really intense way, and then it just felt like this one took a really long time to get going. And then I just wasn't too keen on some of the focuses of maybe some other characters that were introduced at the start of the season, and just didn't really love them there. And we got a lot of Fisk this season. Man, we'll have to fully discuss Fisk, because I don't know how you feel fully, but I think I got a glimpse of a certain I don't know, maybe I don't even know what I'm trying to say. I feel like I got some vibes from you that maybe you're not a full on 100% fan of Kingpin, but maybe I'm reading into that too much. But I was definitely mixed throughout this whole season, because I would be really not loving it, and then all of a sudden I'm like, holy fuck, this show is just peak. This is so good. But then another episode would happen, and it just would really kill the momentum. And I really did kind of binge this season. Like I think I did episode 1 to 6, maybe over like a couple sittings, and then from like 8 to the end was like in one sitting. So it was like one big movie for me for that second back half. And maybe that's why I feel like the early portions really slogged on. But even just like while I was in the individual episodes, it just felt like it was just a really long slog to get through. So yeah, a little bit unfortunate way to end this show. And as you kind of already hinted at, like, it does end in like a hinting towards another season sort of way. So I think coming into this, knowing that it was only 3 seasons, I actually thought it was going to be like a closed book, like by the end, like it would have been a satisfying ending. But for what we got, it kind of makes sense, because like I'm assuming they would want to keep setting things up for the future in case it does get renewed and they have something to build upon. But yeah, it's just not exactly what I was hoping for, and not what I was expecting. But yeah, that's kind of my overall, unfortunately, negative thoughts. I think like individual performances are great across the board. It's just just the focus with the story of where we're putting our focuses on, and yeah, I think the one thing I'll say on Kingpin is I think I like this version less than other Kingpins that I've seen in the past, and I'll leave it at there.
Well
Yeah.
said. Cool.
Nito Burrito. Do you have anything else to say on the season before we jump
Um,
into spoilers?
I found the first start of it to be a bit of a slog. It
Yeah,
was not gravy for me. And it took a
not
little
gravy.
bit. So I will say though that getting throughout the middle into the back half was really much more enjoyable. I think there's some characters in here that I really liked. Some new characters and some obviously familiar characters that they really, really did a good job with their narratives and their development. So that was super, super awesome. But there are certain things, and you're not alone on season 3 being kind of like hated amongst all of the seasons. I think a lot of people sympathize with you on
Mm,
that. But I just had certain problems with Kingpin and just the amount of power that this man just amassed in this situation. I thought that he played, this isn't a spoiler, he played his cards right. And I can appreciate how tactical he was in doing these different moves on a chessboard. But at the end of the day, when it got to like that back half and it's just like, oh, it doesn't even matter anymore. This man's just all power. I was like, I'm not buying it. This is
yeah,
really pulling me out a little bit because it feels like plot armor with the amount of just power this guy has that he's capable
yeah,
of doing. And we're not getting proper explanations for it. And the explanations we do get just don't seem as justified or realistic. It just seems a little mumbo jumbo. But I will say at the end when he was exercising this power in the last couple episodes, I liked it, but only because I think we got to finally see, hey, what's going on. And again, this isn't a spoiler, but say he's in prison, doesn't have anything, and then all of a sudden, next scene, he's got all this art, all this stuff, his suits, everything like that. And it's like, what the fuck? How does this happen? So that period really pulls me out, and I don't like that kind of storytelling. But then when we get to the very back end of it, and we've seen a bunch more development and more reveals of characters and stuff, then it's like, okay, now I totally understand how this has happened, how he's got these things, and so forth. And then we get to the
yeah.
end. So I'm excited to break it down more, and I think that this is definitely where I would rank it. That's tricky. I like that first season a lot, and I like that second season too. But I think I feel like I could put. Uh, I'd want to put this over the second season because I think I enjoyed this one a lot more, but I can't because I just didn't like the first half of. It's not.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's a spoiler, but just a lot of mopiness. And I don't
Yeah.
like the mopiness and like, yeah, self deteriorating aspects. I think it was just too much of it in this season. But
Yeah.
yeah, and also a question for you: this season starter occurs after a big part of the Defenders. Did you watch any Defenders to see how this
But
season starts?
no, I didn't watch any Defenders. So maybe
Okay.
that's little asterisks I should throw on my review here. I knew there was some crossover there. There was a couple characters that are kind of mentioned very like minorly. Like I didn't really get the vibe from watching the season that I really missed out on a lot of Defender stuff, and maybe I'm completely wrong with that, but maybe that also leans in on why I really wasn't a fan of the start of the season. So maybe because have you seen Defenders?
No.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say maybe you can help me out and fill in the gaps there, but
Well, I can. I did read into it if you want some
okay.
information.
Well, let's take an ad break here, and then we'll open up this can of sardines here, which is Daredevil season 3. So yeah, we'll be right back. All right, Taylor, fill in the gaps for me. What did I miss out on Defenders coming into season 3 here?
So when Matt's waking up in that first episode of Daredevil season 3, that is post the destruction of Midland Circle. It's a successful operation enacted by the Defenders alongside Colleen Wing, Misty Knight, Claire Temple. Danny Rand was basically the guy that needed to be rescued.
Is
Uh,
that the Iron Fist?
yeah, yeah. So he was captured by the Hand, and the Defenders went in there to go and rescue him. So They were also preventing the harvesting of the resurrection elixir. Was the big talk of the town in season 2 of Daredevil, right? When the hand was trying to do that whole like zombie thing going on.
Yeah.
Basically, their operation, the building started to fall. Daredevil stayed behind to appeal with Elektra, but the defenders were convinced that Daredevil was dead, and so although he survived, we see him at the end of
So
that.
so Elektra's back in Defenders.
Yes.
Okay, that's so funny because I was so like confused on why we didn't pick up on any of that stuff that was ended like with season 2, like and also like I feel like the way that season 2 ends, like it's kind of similar, to like how we're picking up here, where like okay, he lost Elektra, he got all fucked up, a building fell on him. I'm like, I know that didn't exactly happen in season 2, but like I know we got fucked up, I know we lost Elektra, so like it also kind of fits there, even though it was a little bit confusing. So that does make a lot of sense. I just thought it was a long, like it had been a long time from when I ended season 2 just going into season 3. I'm like, oh man, I kind of misremember the finale here. So okay, that makes a little bit more sense. That definitely doesn't like change my overall thoughts of how I was feeling like retrospectively on yeah, just what was shown at the start there. I think also maybe this is just because I haven't seen Defenders, but I also feel like they could have just done a better job at like explaining the start there, because yeah, I don't know, maybe I'm just bitter there, but
No,
thanks for
absolutely.
filling that
Because
in.
all we can do is just assume, oh, he had a real bad fight, and
Yeah, which happens.
a cab driver found him, right? Which
Yeah.
does happen.
Like the amount of times we've seen this guy like beaten to death, almost, bloody and spewing blood everywhere. Like it just seems like it's a normal everyday for him. Cool.
Yeah,
so yeah, I mean, we can go episode by episode. I feel like the big thing for me in this season, especially now that we've finished the show, like, I've experienced all of the Vincent D'Onofrio, Kingpin performances up until this moment. I don't know if he's in Defenders, but it doesn't matter. I got the Hawkeye version, I got the Echo version, I got the Daredevil version. And yeah, I must say I'm a little bit let down by this version of the character. And the reason for that is I feel like my favorite type of Kingpin is, so take the look out of it, but like the Kingpin that's shown in like the Spider-Verse movies, where he's like, he really is like that imposing like bad guy. He talks like just like a New York crime boss. Like that's really how he feels. And maybe that's just very generic and stereotypical, and maybe a lot of people will think that's boring for that reason. But this version, man, I really liked what was set up in season 1, but he's just such a bitch to me when it comes to his whole fucking obsession with Vanessa, and like especially going through Hawkeye. And when we were watching Hawkeye, I hadn't really seen this, so like when he's like obsessing over Eleanor, it's Eleanor, right? That's her name.
Vanessa?
No, the other, because wasn't he like in love with Kate's mom or something? Kate Bishop's mom in Hawkeye, or am I totally misremembering? Okay, I'll have to do a Google when you're going.
I'm confused.
Because Vanessa's not in that show, right?
No, yeah, because you're right. It is Eleanor.
Yeah,
but that was just an employee. I didn't.
Okay, yeah, it just in my okay. There you go. Maybe I have some revisionist history here, so I apologize. But anyways, we're just talking about Vanessa right now. I am just so fucking annoyed of his obsession with Vanessa, where this guy is like the biggest crime boss ever. He's so, he's so imposing. Everybody's scared of him, but like he's literally gonna throw the whole fucking empire away just for Vanessa, and he's just such a coward when it comes to Vanessa. And like later on, when you have like Vanessa pulling the strings, it just seems like he has like no power. Like, yes, Vanessa, whatever you want to do. I don't know, man. I'm so annoyed by just his obsession with that. How do you feel on Kingpin here? Are you intimidated by him? Do you think he's a S tier villain like he is claiming to be?
I like that she was very much like, I want to be a part of your world, so don't hide it from me. And he opens up and shares that world with her. But it's just kind of weird that she was just a third party art seller or something like that. And all of a sudden now she's like, yeah, we need to kill Nadim. Like, what do you do? Like, he is he a threat to us? Is he a danger? Then let's kill him. That's like, God damn. Like, we supposed to be more scared of you than Fisk? It just caught me off guard. And yeah, you're right. His obsession with her, I understand that he loves her and cares about her so very much, but it's just it does get a little bit like, oh Jesus, like calm down, my guy. Holy shit. And I thought for sure, and we can talk more about it later, but when her first reappearance appeared, it just made me laugh because I thought, oh, they just felt like friends. And I felt like, oh, she's totally just gonna break up with him, and but we'll talk more about that later.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I just I'm coming off like hot off the finale here. Just I experienced a whole season of Kingpin, and I just have him like so high in my mind as like a phenomenal Marvel villain. Just his various appearances in something like Spider-Man, like he is a massive villain, but just I feel like I just set him up so high, and like the season 1 performance is phenomenal. Like I think he's great here, but I just think this season was a lot of him just whining of like, you're supposed to protect Vanessa. Where's Vanessa? Get Vanessa here. What? Get this art from Vanessa. Well, Vanessa got me this art. It's so important to me. Like, I'm just so fucking annoyed by this. Like, so much. It was really, really annoying to get through. And the fact that this is like our main villain throughout this whole, pretty much the whole show, but like specifically this season. Yeah, no, I was pretty disappointed here. So I'm curious how I'm gonna feel going into Born Again on Kingpin. And yeah, I'm curious if I'm like a big minority in that sense, because I know he is like a massive, massive character, well regarded, and also a lot of people love the performance. And I think the performance of him is really good. Like when he is maybe in the sequence when Karen is like revealing that she's the one that killed Wesley, and like he's really showing that anger that he's like trying to hide, because he's always trying to be that like businessman who like talks really eloquently and is just clean and like not like a dirty villain, like he always shows that. So I think the moments that Vincent D'Onofrio is really good at is like showing that he's trying to hold it back even though it's slipping through. So like, yeah, I don't want to judge the individual performances, but it's just like the writing around the Vanessa obsessor. Like that's what his name should be. It shouldn't be Kingpin. It's just the fucking pussy whipped Kingpin here. Like she must have the magical vajaj.
The magical vajaj. Those scenes where he's experiencing he's emotionally compromised, I feel like it just is an example of an adolescent that just can't control his emotions, which he had a fucked up childhood, so I'll give him that. True. And maybe that's exactly what he's going for. But when he's just being told the information, doesn't want to hear it, I just feel like he's just like rocking back and forth, like no, just he just feels very childish, and I guess that's just them trying to give him that emotional compromise, because even Vanessa later on is like, be angry later, be smart now, like let's go, and I like that.
Yeah, like I think if that was a dynamic that was more in the show, like I would have been more interested in that. It's just like she's not really in it until the finale, right? Like she's in Spain, she's elsewhere, and like Kingpin's just stressed the whole time that he doesn't know where she is, and like she needs to be blah blah blah. She needs to be safe. She needs to be just somewhere that I could protect her. Whereas like you just pointed out, like even in season 1, like we see glimpses of her being kind of sketchy, right? Like she finds out a little bit more about what's going on with him, and she doesn't seem to be scared or anything, and like seems to enjoy the power there. So yeah, she's definitely got some skeletons buried in her closet, I would imagine.
That she buried herself.
Yeah, probably. And like that would have been an interesting pathway to go down, this season. And I just feel like we spent a lot of time with like Agent Nadim's family and shit like that, where I'm like, okay, by the end of the season, like it is a satisfying arc for that character, in the sense of like we see him go through. I know I'm all over the place right here. I'll try and get us back on order, but I just my wild thoughts here of just like setting up the whole thing of him like needing this promotion because his family has like money problems, and I think by the end like it's a pretty good arc for that character of just the whole cycle that he went through of like thinking that he's one up in Kingpin, and then really the reality of it, like he literally gets murdered for it, and just all these bad things. Like I think I would have liked to take some of that stuff out to maybe focus on some bigger things, some bigger fish. But anyways, since I'm all over the place, let's reel it back to the start of the show here. So the Kingpin stuff throughout the whole season, wasn't the biggest fan of it by any means, but the other thing that just really I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna say annoyed me, but it made it slow to get into. Is the whole start of the season being like Matt's resurrection, and like his friends Foggy and Karen don't know where he is. They're assuming he's dead, but just like he's really like conflicted with his own path and religion and like what just his just having a crisis of faith here, right? Like he's really just questioning everything. He's saying that he's putting Matt, like the whole Matt persona lifestyle, like on hold, but like also thinking about like just not even being Daredevil. And then it's just a lot of like the fallen hero, and then like basically Batman, what's it called, Dark Knight Rises, when he's like in the cave, like same sort of idea where he's just broken and then he's like trying to rise up. And I think there's nothing really wrong with like those types of storylines, but I was just so like, okay, he's clearly not going to be at this church the whole fucking season. Like maybe one episode, and then he'll be out. Maybe
I was
two.
worried.
It is so long, man, for the time that he like is actually out of there, and like it just seems like he keeps like quoting the Bible and just keeps like just questioning the nun and the father figure and everything, and like. I just think that all of that could have been done in like an episode, maybe two. And I feel like they stretched it out to probably hyperbolizing, but it feels like 8 episodes is just like him really struggling with that. And that's a thing that he's kind of dealing with the whole show, even like season 1, season 2, not so much of a hard focus on it, but he's always mentioning that. But in this season, it was like, this is the religious season. This is like, this is where he's going to be questioning everything. And it just was so boring for me, like having these like long drawn out conversations with the father on. It just seemed like I knew what was going to happen, and I was just baffled that it took way longer than it should have. And maybe I'm alone there, but what do you think?
No, I think it took way too long. I was not happy or impressed with just this whole sequence of him just pouty and beating himself up or whatnot. Like this is where I feel like, okay, where we left off in season 2, I felt like he was very fulfilled and he was very much his own person. And then all of a sudden here he has a building collapse and he's just down and out and pissed off and sad and and maybe that's why we need to see Defenders, because maybe Defenders will have a lot more development into why he's starting to regress as a character and why he's not feeling like himself. But he survives and he doesn't reach out to his friends. He doesn't reach out to his Defenders crew that he became friends with. So it's just a little peculiar. I mean, he could have called them on to help as well in dealing and fighting Fisk at the end here, but no, he didn't do any of that. He just wanted to be alone. And I like that, his faith was kind of helping him, and you had this introduction of this new nun character. I can't remember what her name was, but she was trying to help him and whatnot. We, obviously there's a little bit more to that relationship, which we'll talk about later, but it's just, I thought that going beyond that first episode, and I say, what was it? It was probably like 4 episodes at least that he was just still in there. And as he was getting better, because he had his hearing problem again, he was just going out and just letting people kick the shit out of him. And he wanted to have like, Father, bring down this boxer into the church basement. And it just kicks the shit out of him. Like, it's just some weird stuff. And then you got Karen Page that's still paying his rent and he's pretending to be dead. It's like, this is just an unhealthy balance, an unhealthy life right now.
Sister Maggie, that was her name.
Sister Maggie, that's right.
And then that whole character. I already said it took a really long time to get through that, but yeah, just I think it's just a pairing of the amount of time it took for him to get through that, to find his faith again, and then just like his powers are weakened, he's getting his ass kicked. Like it felt like we were at like an origin point again for the character of like, this is the early stage of him fighting and kicking ass. And another thing too that like, I don't know, I'm gonna try not to be super negative throughout the whole episode, but I'm definitely just getting it out of me right now. I had issues with Kingpin here. I feel like I also just got annoyed by Matt and Daredevil here, of just being like so like, this is right or wrong, like what I'm doing isn't right anymore. And again, just the whole crisis of faith here, like it just seems like I was annoyed by him as well, because it just seemed like something that we've kind of already gone throughout the first 2 seasons of like what's the line of right or wrong, and like this season they really push him to the edge of like he potentially wants to kill Kingpin now, which is obviously further than he ever wanted to go before. It's completely against his faith, which is something that he's already kind of been pushed to, you know, in the first 2 seasons. Season 2, like the Punisher and him are like talking about all that stuff, and then it just seems like, yeah, I know that none of that really happened. We're just gonna go through that crisis again for Matt here, and I was just so fucking annoyed, and like, man, like I'm just so not really loving what's going on with Daredevil here in this season. So not loving on what's going on with Kingpin here. They also diverted him back to his season 1 outfit, which I'm just not a fan of either. It's goofy, you know, the silly mask when he's wearing it in the daytime with his like roped up arms. Big hater of Daredevil, apparently. That's me. And also, like, Daredevil, man, I could take him on. Just take a fucking psionic weapon, you know? Just, like... Okay, maybe I'm going a little bit too overboard now. But, like, if his senses are, like, heightened, could you not just, like, do a Venom thing to him and, like, use, like, a fucking, like, loudspeaker?
Dog whistle?
Yeah, and his ears are just, like, just maxing out. Like, would that not disorient him? I don't know. I'm sure there's an article. Someone, you know, did the the fan fiction how you'd be able to beat him in that way. But yeah, I don't know. I was just grumpy with the character there. I'm like, he's not even that strong. Like, what is this guy? Come on. I mean, I could take on Daredevil, but yeah, no, I lost stock with Daredevil and Kingpin in this season, which is something you never want to get. But yeah,
I wish that we got Daredevil more in his suit. I mean, we didn't at all, aside from a crazy other alternative dynamic.
That's true.
Which I got a funny story actually connected to that.
Let's do it.
So obviously we'll talk more about it after, but in short, there's an imposter wearing the Daredevil suit working for Fisk, and basically he's killing. Now, what that was probably it was in the mid-season range. So this would have been last weekend. It would have been Saturday night. Would have been like 1 a.m. that I woke up. So I would have started watching probably around 11, and then I passed out, and then I woke up, and I just see Daredevil murdering these reporters. Like, what the fuck? It totally threw me off, and I didn't know what was going on at all. Holy shit, this is such a dark turn.
Like the Bulletin episode?
Yeah. I woke up in there.
I think that was the first episode for me this season, which I'm pretty sure is episode 7, maybe 6, like around that, which that's like halfway through the show. That was the first episode when I was like, damn, okay, they're cooking now. Like it took some time, but we're here now. This is spicy, because I thought that whole dynamic of like the fake Daredevil, and not just being a fake Daredevil, like it's a planned calculated like scapegoat that Fisk is setting up here. The guy even looks exactly like Matt does, like under the mask, you know, like when he goes up to Karen, like, hey Karen, good to see you again. Like I just loved all of those pieces kind of falling into place there. So yeah, I was kind of grumpy the first few episodes, and like not every episode was terrible. It just felt like a long time to get going into the chutzpah of what I wanted to, you know, we had a lot of fantastic action in season 2. So I was just assuming season 3 was just going to be like even more so of that. You know, took a hot damn minute to get there. But when we actually got to that sequence of the Bulletin, especially because I just did not expect it to happen at all. Like I assumed there would have been some threat there, but like a fake Daredevil, that was just such an interesting thing to have. And yeah, no, I think that was a really, really cool antagonist to have throughout the whole show. And I don't know, I have some minor grievances with Poindexter, and again, just it seemed like we really wanted to flesh out like his origin story, which for the most part I just thought was like kind of cheesy, a lot of the flashback childhood stuff there. But it's also just, I don't know, building a little bit more, just backstory for the character to make him more interesting, to maybe make like the turn that much more impactful. But it just seemed like we spent a lot of time with that character and a lot of time with Agent Nadeem, which, again, by the end of the season, I was a little bit more open to it. But I just think during it, I'm like, why the fuck are we getting introduced to these characters here? Like, I'm just so not interested. And by the end of the season, although I was more positive, I still would have taken a lot of that out to just maybe focus more on other characters. Just more Karen stuff, more Foggy stuff. Like, we had a lot of focus on these new characters that got introduced, and because it wasn't explained till way later, it just felt like a waste of time. You know, I'm sounding extreme here, but yeah, I just wasn't really vibing with the setup of those characters, even though, we got some good moments like the bulletin setup. And like he's actually a capable fighter too. He's not just an agent, right? Like he is Bullseye. He pisses and he don't miss. Like this guy hits everything. So yeah, I thought it was a great antagonist setup there. And that episode, I think like that episode and the episode after, I was really, really locked into it. They had me good at that portion.
I did not realize that was Bullseye until I Googled it. I'm like, okay, who is Poindexter? And I was like, yeah, this is Bullseye. I was like, oh shit, okay, that makes sense. And yeah, he rivaled in combat fiercely against Daredevil. Holy shit.
Yeah, and like I'm not a big Daredevil comic book fan, but like the good old Ben Affleck, Colin Farrell Bullseye casting. That was like my first experience with the Bullseye character, and then probably just throw like Ultimate Alliance and like him being like a villain through there. He's like a great like like a character to recognize because he don't miss. His name is Bullseye. Like it makes sense. He's usually got like an arrow on him. So that's that. But and this I think overall though, like at best he's like a B villain. Maybe like this season I think did a good job at uplifting him a little bit more, like making him more of that. But by the end of it, like he really kind of just is that, right? Like we spent a lot of time with him, but it's just kind of doubling down on like, yeah, he's fucked. He's just a psychopath. Like that's what this character is. There's not that much more to it. Like there's some layers there. I like the moments when we're like he's trying to like not go into those psychopathic tendencies, right? Like when he's actually like listening to his tapes. They show that he actually wants to get Julie's help. I thought he was going to just straight up murder her because he was going full psycho stalker vibes there. Approaching her, grabbing her, and like all these things. But I like those aspects that they were at least trying with the character. But it just seemed like it got to a point where like, oh no, he's just straight up evil. Like he's just Kingpin's #1 henchman. He wants to be the new Wesley. And yeah, I found the character to be a little bit disappointing by the end in that regard. But yeah, like when we got the flashback of him killing his like baseball coach, that's when I like, oh, this is Bullseye. He just fucking banked it off the pole, domes him, and like, yeah, I did that on purpose. Like he was just born to not miss. I didn't really know about his origin. I guess he's just always 100% accuracy, which is good as a soldier, I guess. But and I'm again super negative. I don't want to sound all negative. I think a lot of the fight scenes with him were really, really cool. Just the different like items that he was grabbing, whether it was pencils, when Nadeem and Matt are in his apartment and he's like picking off those like chandelier like glass things, and it's just like all this like ammo that he picks up. It's just fun sequence there. And I like the actor too in the role. Like I thought he did a pretty good job of just showing that he's like in pain and like trying to be a little bit better, but then also when he's turning on either the Daredevil, the fake Daredevil persona, or just an intimidating character. I think he showed the layers there, but yeah.
And I think that's one of the downfalls to Fisk too, because he looked into like Dex's history and saw that he's got a lot of problems and knew how to manipulate and take advantage of that, but not how to maintain it and control it. He thought that he could use Dex for what he needed to for these few little missions, and then just kind of like remove him, or not remove him, but put him on the back burner. And that doesn't work for Dex, because Dex was trying to worm his way in there more like, hey, yeah, like you said, think of me as the new Wesley and all that kind of stuff. It's like, this is not appropriate. But again, he was coming from a place that was unhealthy, and without Julie, that wasn't great. But the guy was definitely fucked. He's working at a suicide prevention hotline, and he's like, why don't you just you want to use that gun on yourself? Why don't you just like you go use that on some other people? Like, Jesus Christ, he's not doing good, not doing good at all.
No,
and that to FBI, I don't understand how that connection.
And I imagine, like, again, like unqualified people get into positions every day, but like specifically an FBI agent, like I imagine there's so many like psych evaluations they constantly have to do, and like he does do one, right? Like when he kills those officers, like he's talking to the doctor, like, do we really have to do this? Like just going through the motions again. And I feel like up like that point it's fine, but then later on I'm like, how the fuck did he pass any of these? Like this guy's so fucking unhinged. And I guess you can make the the explanation that like, well, he's just going through a lot by that point. He loses his job. Julie's gone, not answering his calls. He's really wigging out and like listening to these tapes a lot, and then eventually just burns it, just close that chapter on his life and kind of goes to the point of no return. But yeah, I don't know. I think the setup of the character, I'm like, who the fuck is this gonna be? When Kingpin was going through his files and he like sees him as a child like in his apartment, I just thought all the way that was done was so cheesy.
Yeah.
The dialogue between the kid and the coach, I was just kind of rolling my eyes in that sequence. But yeah, for just kind of looking at the character overall, definitely although I might sound pretty harsh on him right now, I think it was a more positive part of just the overall season, just to have this like imposing force, especially at the start when you have Matt that's like he's trying to refine Jesus and his own faith on what he's doing with Daredevil, and then he sees this guy who's dressed in the Daredevil attire and just kicks the shit out of him. And like, who the fuck is this guy? Why is he wearing my suit? How is he better than me? Like, all these questions. I did like that kind of holy shit moment, but it's also like, well, fuck, Matt. Maybe if you weren't just like crying in the church this whole time, maybe it would have been better and been able to take him on. But that's just kind of me being facetious. So.
No, I can get behind it. He spent so much time in that church. It was ridiculous. And he buried his suit, like he said. Like, he could have done things so very differently. But I don't know. Like, do they just want to avoid having... Well, season 2, he was in a suit for the whole season. So I don't know. I don't know necessarily what the point was, aside from it just being Dex is impersonating him, and they're using that to make him to be the new... martyr, the new villain of Hell's Kitchen, so it pulls the attention off of Fisk, which again, with all the power Fisk has at the start, that's what really just pulled me out. I did not understand, like, okay, he's got all of this control, he's getting things in his he gets out of jail and he gets in his penthouse condo that he bought with an offshore company, and now he's getting his artwork and his suits and everything put back in there because he owns half the FBI. It's like, man, I don't understand this. This is too rushed and too over the top.
Yeah, like I feel like I didn't have a big problem with him necessarily having influence and dirt on officers, even like the FBI to a point, but it just seemed like the start of the show, especially because we followed Agent Nadeem like before he even gets in contact with Kingpin, right? Like Like it opens, he's got credit card debt or whatever, but like he has big plans. He wants to get this pool for his family, and like he's just a really nice, caring family guy. And then what goes on from after that? We go to the FBI, and then it kind of hinted that he's getting kind of stunted on his promotion pathway, right? Like his boss is just not letting him do it. She says she's trying to protect him. All these things. Eventually, it leads to Kingpin, and like. The whole support around the FBI for Nadeem is like, this is perfect. Like we're getting dirt from him to shut down these other crime lords, and this is going well. We're gonna get a lot of use out of him, and there's just no like hints that anything could be going in a Kingpin direction, right? Like I guess you could argue that, well, the fact that they even have Fisk's file here and like want to talk to him about getting these people, like Fisk probably just orchestrated that whole thing, so that's probably the reason there. But it just seems like the way that we're unraveling it with Nadeem is like we don't get any inkling of like, hey, yeah, like this is Fisk, but like remember, like do what he says and all these, like it just seems like everyone's against him until the reveal happens, and then literally every single person in the FBI is like, no, we work for Fisk, like we call him Kingpin. And it just seemed like just a snap of the fingers, like, oh no, he's just God mode now, and like you didn't know this, but he had this the whole time. And it seemed like it seemed like I was watching something like here's gonna be a wild pull, but Now You See Me, when it's a movie about magic, and like it's cool, but like at the end of the day, it's just like CGI magic that they're doing, and like they can have these really crazy elaborate tricks, and there's no real reason to explain them because it's not real magic. It's all movie shenanigans. So therefore here you could say that we're like, no, Kingpin had them play the whole time, but we don't have to show any of that because it's just movie magic. Like he's just always had them playing the whole time. Like he's just been 10 steps ahead since season 1. And like, that's just lazy. I don't know. I was just unsatisfied with the reveal there. And I think a big portion of it is like what you stated with him just being you didn't say this, I said it, but like he's basically God mode where like it doesn't matter what happens. He has everyone played. He's got the whole FBI. He's probably got the whole fucking president United States in his belt, right? Like what does this guy have to fear other than just losing Vanessa? Like that's his only con, is that he's just such a little simpleton when it comes to Vanessa and trying to impress her, and not in front of Vanessa. Yeah, like just fuck, man. Like just annoyed by that. So yeah, I'm right there with you on the I don't even know if it's the right term, but I'll call it power creep that they have for Kingpin in this season. And but yeah, like when he takes the ankle bracelet at the end and like walks away, it just, I didn't feel satisfied by it. Like I feel like it should have been like a holy fuck, he did it, he got out sort of way, but for me it just felt unsatisfying.
Yeah, well, that's fair. I yeah, it's just it's so annoying that this character has kind of just been, I don't know. It's just aggravating. It's aggravating because I feel like after more of this discussion and just seeing where we're at with this character, I feel like they were just putting him in the wrong direction with the development so far. And yeah, like having all this power and having all this kind of stuff. And I get it with Nadeem. He was watching Nadeem for over a year, and I like that quick little line, like, yeah, because you get to see a little bit more. Okay, he had him marked for a year, and then we're gonna have him kind of be denied his raise, and we're gonna have him be eager to just listen to Fisk and get Fisk what Fisk needs, and yada 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 for the FBI. But it's all part of Fisk's plan, and it, for me, I didn't like it, and I don't want to say until, because I don't like it, period. But with Fisk, I didn't like it, and then I put a hold on it when it came to that scene where Nadeem walks into the FBI room, and you just see all these officers that Fisk has in his pocket, and I thought, okay, I'm gonna, like, up till now it was pissing me off, but now I'm gonna be like Nadeem and just roll with it. So that's where I kind of was okay with how things were going, but just again, all his power just wasn't. It was not. I don't know, not great.
Power of the sun, the palm of his hand, man.
Yeah, that's
It's
right.
Kingpin. Let's take another ad break here, and then we're right back. All right, Taylor, we are right back. Something else that was kind of annoying for me this season, and it's been, I don't know where I was going with that. Let's shift. Oh yeah, never mind. I just remind myself.
Hell yeah.
Season 2 ends with a big cliffhanger of, Karen Page finding out, not from, Matt's mouth himself, that he is Daredevil. Crazy way to end the season. I couldn't fucking wait to get into season 3 for that reason of just like seeing what this dynamic is. And man, I could not be more unsatisfied with, I think, what happened here. Like when we do pick up with them having the conversation, it's just kind of not a lot comes out of it and maybe I just had my own expectations of how it was going to go. It's just, oh yeah, okay, that's like, why didn't you tell me? Again, major paraphrasing, there's a lot more that was said here, but just the way that everything plays out, I was hoping that it was going to be like, yeah, this is going to make a lot more of an interesting dynamic where you have Karen doing her on the ground work, but then also able to work with Matt, like in the Daredevil mask, not in the same way of like she's running, fighting crime with him in the nighttime, but just helping, like working together in that way. And just the fact that this season, pretty much halfway through the whole season, like they don't even really interact at all, right? Because Matt's just completely on his own, trying to find himself here. You have Karen doing her own work with the bulletin, Foggy kind of doing his own thing, and like they're kind of just wondering where Matt is and trying to accept the fact that he is dead. Of course, Karen's kind of holding on to hope that he's still out there, but I don't know. I felt so unsatisfied with the way that we picked up with that, and I love the whole triage of Foggy, Karen, and Matt. I think that's big reason why I just see the early portions of the show, like specifically season 1, just so intriguing. Like when they're still the law firm and like working together. Obviously Matt's doing his nighttime stuff, but like they're still a team for the most part. And even later on, like it doesn't really feel like they're a team until like the penultimate episode, maybe even like the finale. Like they're just really distant, and that was just really upsetting for me because you know, like it's definitely Matt's show, but I still think those three were really, really great together throughout the whole show. And this season, it's just really not there. Like specifically the trio of them. I think Karen probably has like the most besides Matt in this. Of course, Foggy's doing his DA thing. I think they're all great like on their own. It's just I really wanted to have more of a team aspect to the season, knowing that it's the finale. You know, like you got Daredevil Born Again, but just judging the show on its own, like this is kind of closing the chapter here, and there's like one moment at the end when they're like, yeah, Nelson and Murdoch back on the case or whatever the hell they say. And it's like, okay, man, this is sweet. And then I realized that it's like episode 13. Like it's right at the end. Like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. That's that. So a little bit, were you with me?
Oh yeah, I was with you. I would have loved to see a little bit more collab, and there were brief moments where, okay, Daredevil and Karen are trapped in the basement because we're always going back to the basement, and then the whole FBI has it all under lockdown, and why can't I remember his character name? Not Daredevil.
Matt Murdock?
Thank you. Jeez Louise. Matt Murdock escapes, and Karen Page is in there, and so Foggy comes in, and their plan is, okay, Foggy's going to basically not testify for her, but represent her and be like, okay, the FBI does not claim Karen Page. It's going to be the local jurisdiction, the police. I'm like, yeah, New York PD. This is great. I love this because they're working as a team. They're thinking, and then even then, when they get Nadeem to basically confess and testify against Fisk, it's like, okay, this is great too because now we got all three of them working together. But then I feel like this season for me it damaged Karen a little bit more. I didn't care much for her backstory of just her doing drugs and just
The
being
Karen
like
episode?
a shithead.
I'm right there with you, man.
I was not enjoying that at all. And just I get they're really trying to show that she was struggling in this season, being alone and not being with Matt or with Foggy as much and so forth. But it still didn't sit with me the right way. And then when she totally fucks Foggy over and goes to actually talk to Fisk, it's like, I don't care what happens to me. I'm just going to get him mad. So he sees it on the FBI, the feds see it on camera. It's like, well, that wouldn't have done anything in retrospect because the FBI, they're all working for him.
Yeah.
So they would have just threw the camera footage away and she would have died for nothing. It was just bullshit. But when she was being hunted after the fact, okay, I thought this was cool. I could get on board with this. This was exciting. But, yeah, I just I'm not overly thrilled with just that flashback episode, and I feel like they could have told the story a little bit better because Madison was with me when we were watching, and when this was post Fisk and she was feeling just helpless, and she calls her dad, and her dad's like, "Yeah, no, just you can't come home."
Yeah,
right now.
no, that's not a good idea. Yeah, I'm busy.
And Madison's like, what the hell kind of a parent would say that? I was like, I don't know. And then finally we got the episode where she fucked up Royal, so it makes sense. But I'm not a big fan of any of that history.
No, yeah, I was really bummed by that episode because if I remember correctly, that was episode 10, and episode 9 like left in like a big like holy shit, let's go, like stuff's ramping up. Just some interesting thing with Agent Nadeem, finding out a little bit more about Fisk, maybe potentially working against them a little bit or trying to at least. And then we just jump to a full flashback episode for Karen here, and I don't know, I think there's a place for like filling in backstory with Karen because it's especially in season 1 we get some flashbacks between Foggy and Matt, right? Like when they're like new lawyers, so there is a little bit of flashback stuff there for Foggy. But and like I don't think judging the specific episode on its own is like bad by any means. Like I think I can't remember her name, but the lady that plays Karen, I'll get her name at some Deborah Ann Wool. I think she's great throughout the whole show. In that episode, it's her episode, obviously. So there's a lot of her. There's a lot of just range in the emotion and everything that she's showing. Like I think she's really good, but it seemed kind of out of place. You know, like I don't think I got a lot out of that to be like, oh, this is what I needed going into the last 2 episodes here to really make me feel satisfied with what's going on with the show. Like I think it's like, okay, yeah, it filled me a little bit more in that she's had some trouble in the past, and like I guess I know why she can handle a gun because she shot someone before, and just a fucked up setup with her family dynamic. It explains the phone call, I guess, why her dad is so distant, but like it didn't do a lot to push this specific story together. So I think
Yeah.
what I'm trying to say is like I would have taken this episode just in a different place and not even necessarily like this season, just somewhere else in the show. I already feel like this season spent some time in areas I didn't want with what other Nadim's family or Poindexter with the therapist. Like there's just some things I feel like we already could have trimmed. So the fact that we got a whole episode in like the last four, like rounding off the whole show, it's definitely an area I would have chopped out. But
Yeah.
yeah, I also just like we haven't really had a whole flashback episode if I remember throughout the whole show. So to just have one only for Karen, I was surprised. But getting back to the modern day stuff, I did actually really like the sequence when she goes to confront Fisk. I think there was just some really good anticipation and build up and suspense of like, holy fuck, like this guy, like she's never really been face to face with him, even though like he, you know, indirectly was like responsible for like her almost death and like wanting to kill her and like all these people that were close to her. Ben Urich, obviously, like he killed him with his bare hands. So like to actually have Karen face to face with this guy, that was a big like moment for me. And I like the conversation, I like the way that it played out. I like that Karen was like digging her heels in and like
I was there with Ben.
Yeah.
Didn't feel great taking advantage of an old woman.
so, yeah, so like I love the way the dialogue went. I like that she was like like giving it to him. Like, you think I'm fucking scared of you? I shot Wesley like 7 times. Like I'm the one that killed him, and like she's getting under his skin. Like it's working. So I really liked how that scene played out. And then obviously Foggy shows up right when he's about to fucking pull a Ben Urich on her and just beat the shit out of her. But so yeah, good timing from Foggy there. But yeah, I what was I gonna say there? I don't know. It was just a good sequence. And then of course that's when Kingpin goes all out. Like, okay, we're taking out here. Poindexter, you have the green light. And then she goes on the run, which yeah, it was a little bit intense. I was also just thinking of season 1. I'm like, man, this poor lady. She's just always on the run from Kingpin, and she needs to get out of Dodge. But here we are again. So I don't even know what I was trying to say there. Just my thoughts. Yeah, there's some good stuff and some bad stuff.
She's very lucky, you know. Sister Maggie just popped in there, and at this point, we know Sister Maggie is Daredevil's mom, which I was not expecting that at all. Of course, I don't know the comics. I don't know the backstory there, but it's still just complete left field. Just did not see it coming.
Yeah, it is funny too because this character, she's in like episode 1 of this season, but maybe you can help me remember. Like she's not in any other season, right? Like her introduction.
It's what's his name? Mr. Father.
Who's also in here, but like we have a lot of Maggie stuff specifically in this, and like it starts off with her being just the grumpy, sister, the grumpy nun who, like Matt's just fucking taking a bed from her, like she's just a grumpy, sour old lady. And I don't know, like to me, this lady, like she didn't seem that old. Like at all, I feel like there's some scenes where she looks older than others. There's a specific scene when she's talking to Matt and she's not wearing like her nun headpiece, and I'm like, man, she looks like the same fucking age as Charlie Cox here. Like,
I thought they were gonna hook up.
I did too. Specifically that scene when like she doesn't have her headdress on. I'm like, man, Matt, he's one with the ladies here. Like they're gonna just start fucking here, and then of course later on we get the reveal that it's his mom, which made me rethink, how I felt on that sequence there. But anyway, what I was trying to say is just like, yeah, they set up that she's an old nun. She was basically the same role that she is to like the younger students that she was for Matt when he was younger. Obviously now we know that like that's his mom, so it makes sense, the aging. It's just, yeah, when she said like, oh, I used to do that for you, like in regards to him being like a young student, I'm like, man, this lady looks so young to like, I guess she just doesn't age. She's doing good. She got good genes. She's taking care of her skin. She's doing good. But yeah, another character that I was just a little bit perplexed on why we were spending so much time with at the start of the show, but that's kind of what this show is, or sorry, the season is, where like we spend a lot of time introducing Nadine, Poindexter, Maggie, Sister Maggie here, and then later on in the season, that's when you find out the significance of these characters and just kind of the parts that they play in the story of this season. But because we were just getting a lot of introductions there, I'm like, just fucking give me Karen and Foggy and Matt. Just I want to spend time with the characters that I know and love already. But I digress. I'm just a whiny old fart here. But yeah, Maggie, I thought she was good. I thought the performance was good. I liked the reveal because, as you already stated, I did not see it coming at all. The way that Matt just kind of found out when he was just beating the bag and he's like, "Oh, it's her." I was like, "Oh man, he really just remembered his mother there." That was weird, but
Scared the shit out of me in that scene. On the note of moms, 'cause, I mean, I liked her character a lot, and I like how she kind of like picked up, at the end. She sees
she was
Daredevil.
a thirsty young nun too, eh? It's
She was thirsty.
We have to
going
go
into
back to the
fight.
church. Like, no, let's just check out what's going on here.
Yeah, she was going
Daddy
for it, and
Murdoch.
then complete left field too again when the kid was born and she's just not all there mentally because betrayed God, and so the church had to take her away. Some crazy shit. But for me, on the note of mothers, when we look at Foggy's mom, did you recognize that actress?
That's Penguin's mom, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. Yeah.
I actually meant to pull that up when I was watching that episode, but I totally forgot about it. But yeah, no, she's a good mom character.
Good mom. Yeah. That's what she's. That's what she's
A
the
lot
role she was
nicer
going for.
as Foggy's mom. She's a lot less abusive as opposed to Mr. Cobblepot.
That's right. Yeah. So it's cool to see that kind of connection there. I was not expecting that whatsoever.
Yeah.
But, but getting Foggy's kind of not his backstory, but just more of his family. I like seeing that. The haircut too, jiving with
He's
that.
looking good.
He's looking good. He's living the.
He's
rich
looking like he's
life.
making money. Yeah.
Oh, he's making money. All right. Yeah. Trying to run for DA. Like that whole story. I like that a lot. Where, okay, a while ago, his family got kind of roped in and put under pressure, and now his family could go to jail or they don't have to. Depends, because if he does become DA, then Fisk has control over him. And it's like, God damn, that's just some crazy shit just to think about how Fisk just is trying to tap in and control him. But yeah, he's definitely trying to do the right thing, and I like Foggy a lot more in the season. Foggy's probably my favorite character of the show, actually, after all these seasons. And I like too that he is evolved, where he knows Matt, and he's like, okay, if Matt kills someone, he's never going to be able to come back from that. It's just going to destroy him, yada yada yada. And I like that he gets pissed off when Matt appears and he's been drinking, and it's like, holy shit. And then Matt takes his wallet. It's like, fuck. Which amazing prison sequence. That way that whole thing was choreographed, and just he was being attacked, and then he had to take on the guards and sneak through with an undercover guy as a guard and just get out of the prison. It was just the whole riot. That was a fantastic scene. Which he pretended to be Foggy getting in there, I guess, with his ID from his stolen wallet. But I really like Foggy, and he's one of the highlights for me going into Born Again, just to see that character come back. So
yeah, I'm curious what the role is going to be for him, right? Because obviously, he's got a big part to play, but he's just so distanced from Matt as opposed to what he was in season 1. I guess season 1 he doesn't know about Daredevil, so maybe you can argue he is more distanced there. But it just seems like he's doing a lot of stuff kind of behind the scenes for the good fight to take on Fisk, not necessarily to help out Matt. But I feel like I'm kind of surprised about how much I appreciate that character, because I just kind of thought he was going to be the comic relief, Matt's buddy, who's kind of the, I was going to say B tier lawyer, but that sounds harsh. The second lawyer, when it comes to Murdoch and Nelson, because it just seems like in season 1, anytime that they had a lawyer eureka moment, it was always Matt, well, just do this, and this. And Foggy's like, oh, you're such a genius, Matt. But to where he is now, it seems like he is arguably a better lawyer than Murdoch, because he's just so much more focused on doing, and he's if he's with a bigger law firm now, he's probably working on these massive cases, and he's just so much more in the weeds on the lawyer stuff, whereas Matt's, I'm surprised if he even remembers how to do that after the beatings that he's gotten from these boxers in the church basement, the fight club they got going on there. So yeah, I like that the character kind of kept progressing in a trajectory throughout the whole show. It's not just because Matt's not with him, the character's just nothing. he still has a strong relationship with Marcy, which again was a character that I thought was just gonna be a nothing character in season 1, but she had some use here. She's not a big player, pushing the whole story forward, but she directly and indirectly supports Foggy and helps him kind of get some one ups on the Fisk and gang. So yeah, I'm really impressed with just kind of how they're able to keep Foggy relevant. And he was going for DA here, right? Like that's a massive thing. I was really surprised when they had that idea for him to run there, and I think he had a lot of moments to really shine. Season 2 he did as well when he was leading the trial to defend Punisher, and then here when he's standing up to I think Townley was his name, like the current DA, when he's like getting all up in his face, just shit talking, pointing all this Fisk corruption to light. So yeah, I am impressed with Foggy, and I am intrigued on what usage they're gonna have for him in the new season. Mostly just kind of like how much we're gonna get of him. I think I'm curious about.
Yeah, I'm curious too. I'm hoping that they go through and we don't get a time jump and the firm doesn't happen, because I like the Nelson Murdoch page firm idea that they had. So I'm hoping we go through with that.
Yeah, that'd be a fun place to pick up. Where it's like we disbanded, we all hated each other, and that's where we are now. That's how the show's gonna start. I hope not.
I just want to circle back now. We were talking about how you were really excited to see the Karen Page reveal, "Oh, I'm Daredevil," kind of unmasking thing, and I'm totally with you there. I really would have loved to see that, and so I checked and thought, okay, since Defenders takes place before this, it doesn't seem like Defenders answers that question either. Defenders seems to be a close off and resolving the Hand and Elektra's story in this universe, and then it also sets Matt up for being so depressed in the first couple episodes here. His mental state. So it would have been nice, because Defenders being in between, then at least give us a scene in there of Karen Page just like, oh my god, and freaking out and all that kind of stuff. But no, it's just cutting to the future, and it's like, oh, he's just dead.
Yeah, I think it was also such a big thing for me too, where this is also something in like Batman, anytime a hero has like a secret persona, and then they have like basically a three-way relationship between themselves, their alter ego, and then like a love interest, like that's like a very comic booky thing to have, because it's very common, whether it's Superman, Batman, Spider-Man has that sometimes, but like it's just so juicy when you get to like the reveal of like this person who maybe sees this character as more of a friend versus like, of course you want to just be with the superhero, because come on, he's got the fucking just the testosterone under the mask, like just a manly man under there, like just the possibilities are endless. But then so you have like maybe some sensual thoughts about that character, and then when you reveal that character is this character who you also maybe had some mixed feelings with, it's just a recipe for an interesting interaction, and I just feel like we were robbed of that, right? Like we just didn't really get, and they don't even really like talk about a lot of that in the season. I know there's a sequence when they kind of talk a little bit about that, but it's mostly just I feel like there's big fish to fry, so we just don't have time to really talk about things like that. And maybe if we don't have a whole Karen drug use flashback episode, maybe we can squeeze in an episode where we have more of that. So that's definitely something I would have changed in hindsight, but I'm not the one that makes the show. So
well said.
Well said. Okay, do you want to talk about, actually we already kind of talked about Poindexter. Yeah, they set up that he's getting some super surgery. I don't know. They show the bullseye in his pupil. I thought that was kind of a corny sequence. It's like, hey, if you don't know he's bullseye now, like, why the fuck do we have to show a bullseye symbolism through the eyeball? But whatever.
Yeah, his spine was completely exposed, looking like Otto Octavius from Spider-Man 2 on the
all the arms
operating table. Yeah.
I don't know why, but I always just remember like the chainsaw that they used to like try and like cut the fucking thing in that sequence. Shouts out to Spider-Man 2. Yeah, we talked about him. We talked about Agent Nadeem a little bit. What do you think about that guy? What do you think about the inclusion of that character, the performance, everything?
I really liked his addition to the show, and I liked when we got to see his family. And I was apprehensive at first, of course, and I thought, okay, him just being kind of a jerk and an ass, not really believing our characters, that kind of sucks. But I like his position. He was willing to just kind of be blinded by the fact that, hey, I got my raise, I got this new gig with Fisk's on Fisk Detail while he's being held up in this penthouse. We're gonna get more information to basically put and take down more of these crime syndicates. And I thought, okay, he's got motivation and he wants more money and yada yada. I thought at the end of the day he was maybe gonna just rob one of these crime families or something like that. But no, they took him down. At least I guess just the Albanians really. But yeah, I thought it caught me completely off guard at the end when he just killed himself by triggering a fight with Dex, just trying to like go and pull a gun on him. But the information that he saved into that testimony on the cell phone for his wife, I liked all that. I thought that was great. Yeah, just I feel really, really sad for the character. He had a very rough go at it trying to make things work, and ultimately he paid for it with his life just to get Fisk off of his family's tail.
Yeah. No, I went through a circle with this character where at the start, like I already stated, I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? Why should I care about him? Why should I care about his family's issues? And then because they don't even show right away that he is like an FBI agent, so it's kind of fun in that sense. Or I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? Is this the villain of the show? Like what are they showing me here? And then FBI, okay, we get a little bit more reveal there. He's gonna be the guy dealing with Fisk. So as soon as that happens, I'm just like, oh, this guy's doomed. Like he's getting close to Fisk. It's not gonna work out for him. I think initially too, I'm like, this guy's not even a good actor. I don't like the scenes that he's having in here. And then literally by the end of the show, I'm like, man, I wanted more scenes with him. I feel like I think he is a great actor. I really like the scenes that he had with his family, with Fisk. I liked how he gets obviously put into a very difficult situation where someone's murdered right in front of him by his boss with his gun, and like he's being framed right then and there. I think that he like showed great just shock in that moment, like performance wise. So yeah, like in the start I was really not a fan, but then by the end I was honestly wanting more. I think I would have wished to get another scene with him and his wife, but maybe that's another just tragic point of the whole thing, is like he never actually got another moment, you know, to say goodbye to his wife or his son. I thought just the whole setup of that was really, really compelling for me, where like he's trying to keep these two lives like separate, because he knows the dangers, but then also like he basically has to lie to his family so they don't think that he's gonna get shot every single time he goes to work, like, you know, because you don't want them to worry. So I actually really, really, really love that whole dynamic by the end, even though I was really not sold on it. When he got shot at the end, like I figured he was a goner for sure, but when he got shot at the end, I was just like, oh man, that's just so wrenching. And I liked how he kind of like he kind of just did his own plan, right? Like he went against everyone's advice, went to the house, knew that he was kind of drawing attention. He looked right in the camera, looking like Travis Snell stopping by Taylor Field's house on the CCTV there. But then yeah, he films the testimony to his family, and of course we don't see the full video. And then I liked how the wife is the one that kind of, you know, told Foggy about it, and then that's what really leads to the big capture thing at the end. So I really, really appreciated that character by the end of it. And although I was really not a fan of how it started, yeah, I was impressed by the end, and feel for the wife and the son, you know, like he's a hero. And the whole force was just painting him as a corrupt cop, right, that did all that.
I was buying into it when they were dealing with the spin on the truth about what was going on, how he shot this other agent and he was doing all this crazy shit. And then the mom comes down to the station, his Nadine's wife, and is just saying, I thought he was good. And they're like, yeah, he's a monster. Yeah. I'm thinking, fuck, this poor guy.
Yeah,
just getting slandered.
super tragic.
Yeah, but luckily she was in on it. So she's like, oh no, like they told me to come here so I could basically clear us off the board so they wouldn't suspect.
I'm sure he was like what's his name? Matthew McConaughey's character in Interstellar, behind the bookshelf, you know, in like the afterlife. He's like, no, don't believe it. I guess he would have known though. As long as she sees the full video, it's a big gamble when that happens. But yeah, brutal way to go. At least it was a quick death by anything, you know. If you're going up against Dex, as long as you're not getting like a pencil to the fucking urethra or something, you know, you got a clean death if you're going against that guy.
That's right.
Yeah, we talked about Poindexter. We talked about Nadim. I like the stuff with the DA agent. I already kind of touched upon that with Foggy and him. I liked how they were kind of button heads, and then of course they kind of side with each other at the end, and all that good stuff there.
Yeah.
What else we got? Vanessa in here. We already talked about. I feel like I had something, but I can't see it in my notes. I had something else that we hadn't talked about. Do you have anything that we haven't talked about yet?
I don't think so. Just looking at the episode list here. I love the alliance that Daredevil forms with Nadim, and that ends with Daredevil even like pulling his mask off so that Nadim can see.
He's
the
showing his
truth.
face a lot in this
He was
last.
showing his
this
face.
last
Everyone
season,
knew who
yeah.
Daredevil was this season.
And like even like him wearing like the fucking pantyhose over his head, like in daylight, it's just like, man, this is such an awful outfit. If it's not like pitch black, it's an awful outfit already, but
Yeah.
in daylight already, especially like he's face to face with Nadim before he even shows his like mask, and I'm like, how are you not like Matt Murdock? Like, you look exactly like him, and you have the same, like aftershave. Like it's just like it's so in your face. Where I get nighttime, maybe in some action, like you can't really discern, but I couldn't help but laugh. Like anytime it's like daytime, they're face to face with each other. It's like, didn't he just talk to Matt Murdock like this morning? Like it's just, but it's a superhero thing. It's something
It
to
is,
live
yeah.
with.
There was a funny scene near the end here. It's a superhero thing again when they try to sneak out in conversation and they're in Fisk's penthouse and Fisk is being arrested, and you can see that there's obviously Dex in the Daredevil suit, and I think I'm paraphrasing, but the one officer's like, oh, we got Daredevil, and then it wasn't Nadim, it was, who was it? Oh, what's the name of the officer that was he was just a cop in the first season, and then
like buddies
working
with Foggy, sort
yeah,
of.
buddies with Foggy. Because now he's a detective. He's got a little pole.
I'll get his name. I can't remember what it is.
Because he was in there. And
Sergeant
he's like,
Brett
Sergeant
Mahoney.
Brett. Yes, thank you, Mahoney. So yeah, he's like, oh, we this isn't the real Daredevil, and he turns like, that's the real Daredevil, and it's just Matt just walking into the room upstairs, like out of
waited.
frame.
Yeah, he
it was
waited. It's like, how long do I have to wait till he says my name? Okay.
It was so out of place, but it made me laugh.
I also laughed in that moment too, because it's like, well, I guess that's how you prove that that's not the Daredevil. But
That's
like,
right.
fuck, like, how else would you do it, right? So it was kind of funny, and that dynamic actually throughout the season was fun, where you have characters like Karen, Foggy that know Matt was there and wasn't the Daredevil that killed them, but it's like, how do they explain to people that that wasn't the case? Because he looks exactly like him. Like, who else would have these suits? So I did actually like that game that they had to play. Like Karen got fired from her job because she was refusing to reveal Matt's persona there. So I liked that factor throughout the whole season there. Another thing that I don't know how you felt about it, but there was many moments. We kind of had like a Last Jedi where Kingpin just keeps appearing to Matt and like just whispering sweet nothings into his ear, like shit talking him, like, how do you feel that you're... I can't even paraphrase. That's how little I remember those sequences. But he just kept appearing to him and basically just getting into his ear, being the devil on his shoulder. He also speaks to his father, appears to him later on, I think, when he finds out about his mom. And for the most part, I feel like these were cheesy for me. I was going to say for the most part they didn't bother me, but for the most part, especially the Kingpin ones, I feel like also I was just at my lowest point with Kingpin up until like at this point of the show. So when he's appearing and, oh, things are going your way, are they, Murdoch? And like, oh, you're going to have to kill me. Like, I think it was too much. It was too much of Matt on his own and like internal voices speaking to him at this season, and just a lot of that. So overall, I was disappointed.
Yeah, well said.
Coolio, man. Well, if we have nothing else to say on this season, on the show in general, final thoughts on the season and just kind of the show overall. Obviously, we already rated the first two seasons, but yeah, just how do you feel? 2025, and you finally watched Daredevil
Finally watched it.
with me.
This has been with you. This has been a long time in the works. I feel like we throw it out there. It started as a meme, and it just finally became reality, and it feels good to wrap it up. This is one thing that always just I wanted to fill in the gaps more, because ever since we got Daredevil that popped up in She-Hulk and then popped up in Echo, and now Daredevil that's popped up in Spider-Man, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man on Disney Plus. There's just this character popping up everywhere, and so it's nice to just go back to square one and see why people fell in love with this character and why they fell in love with like Charlie's version of Daredevil. So after going through seasons 1 to 3, I'm very happy with it. It was a good time, a very good experience, and it just makes me really like this character a lot more, and his charisma and his just the way he conducts business and goes about things. I dig it. So it'll be very cool to see, like I already said before, how far they go with this and into Born Again. What was my ranking? I think season 1 was number 1, and I think season 2 then 3. 3 is just the downside of dealing with the whole woe is me mentality for the first half of the season, which I just was not jiving well with.
Yeah.
But I really liked a lot of things like Bullseye impersonating Daredevil. That was fantastic in this season. Really liked it. He was scary. I didn't like Kingpin's power situation, but I liked how things kind of like cleared up near the end, and you kind of understand where he's pulling all this power from and how he's doing it. But you get pissed at him too, because you'll have a scene where, hey, we finally got him, Dean testified and everything like that, and they leave the room, and then this one jury is like, 624 Woods Road, and they're like, oh, that's my address, and it's like, fuck, how did Fisk pull this off so fucking quick? That's stuff that bothers me, but I think
God mode.
It is
God
God
mode, man. He knows
It's God
everything.
mode. He does.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm really glad that we went through this. This was, as you already stated, a long time coming. Started as a meme. I feel like when we first talked about this, I'm like, yeah, 40% chance I actually watched this show. That's not really happening. But here we are. We watched it, 100% chance. Although I have like obviously issues with the way that the show ended, I think overall Charlie Cox casting as Daredevil has been fantastic. Obviously we've seen him in Spider-Man No Way Home as well, being a little lawyer in there, so we've already seen him appear in the MCU. Echo as well. I'm really just I think because I'm mixed on the show in general. Well, that's not even true. I am positive for the show in general and the performances. I am very much looking forward to picking up this character and seeing what the MCU does with it now with Born Again, because there is some really great glimpses here. I don't want to start Born Again with him, having a crisis on just finding God and like what's he's doing, right? I never want to have that. I never want to have that inner turmoil between Daredevil again. I'm sure it'll happen because that's a big part of the character, I'm now finding out. But I am just so annoyed by it. And if it does happen, hopefully it's short and sweet. But I'm really glad we made it through here. We never talked about it. Are we gonna do like a rankings for this retro? I definitely did not prepare anything. Obviously we could rank the seasons here, but like characters, villains, obviously there's not many villains, but
I could see us doing that after we finish Born Again.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good.
Unless, just because I'm feeling there's going to be like new characters introduced and maybe some new villains in there.
So we're going to incorporate them in our.
I feel like we could,
okay.
Incorporate like all of it together. Unless, we think like, this is exclusively a season 1 to 3 kind of a thing.
We'll talk.
Yeah, we'll figure it.
May or may not appear on the feeds, but nonetheless, I would put this season at the bottom for myself. I think season 1 and season 2 are close. Season 2 just had some like big heavy hitters, obviously with Elektra and Punisher. Like it's tough to really ignore those big inclusion factors.
And what's his name? The mentor? Is it Gip or
Stick?
Pip? Stick, yeah. Fuck. Stick.
No, it's Pip the Troll Man. He's in the Turtles.
That's
who
right,
you're thinking
right.
of.
Yeah.
No, Stick. Rest in peace. He died, right?
I don't remember him dying.
I think he died. They talk about in the season that he perished, so I don't remember that. If you're going through these retros right now, going from season 1 to season 2, season 3, obviously there's some spacing between the recordings, so that will explain our goldfish brains and why we don't remember what happened there. But really, really fun time going through here. I think if I had to put a number rating on this season on its own. It's tough for me. I think I would give it a 6. I think I would
Okay.
give it a 6. It's a pass. Pretty low. Definitely pretty low for how I thought it was going to be coming into it. I was unsatisfied with Kingpin. Ended up being somewhat satisfied with our new characters that we got introduced to in this season, but yeah, I just felt like it wasn't the big firework finale that I was hoping for. And
Right.
hopefully, Born Again. I'm glad that we have Born Again, because if this actually would have been the last season of Daredevil overall, I would have looked really sour, like in retro. I think if I would have seen this show many years ago and then just not know that Born Again was coming out, and like you asked me 2025 how was Daredevil, I think I would have been soured just with how it ended, and maybe it would have changed my recommendation factor.
Mm-hmm.
But who knows? It's tough to say that because that's not the world that we live in. But yeah, no, I think that's what I would rate it there, and I'm very curious on what other people are going to think about my thoughts, because I thought that this show was just like a stellar 10 out of 10 across the board, but I also never listened to our old Daredevil reviews that I believe Travis and Dylan dropped all those years ago. Probably
did.
live in person, I would imagine. It would have been that era of
It would have
GeekVerse.
been. Yeah.
Crazy to think. Did you put a number on this one?
I did not yet. I'd probably go a 7 out of 10.
Nice.
I can't remember what I gave like season 2 in terms of numbering, but yeah, just like I said already, first part of this season was just it's not jiving with it.
Fair enough. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that closes this chapter on the Netflix. I don't even know if it's called that anymore because it's on Disney Plus. Like, it's not on Netflix anymore, but originated Netflix. We got Daredevil season 1 to 3 retro closed in the books. We'll be back for Daredevil Born Again, couple weeks. Thank you for joining me, Taylor. This was lots of fun. I always appreciate you and me. We always have names. We have nicknames now, especially if you're tuning in to Weekly Geeks. Do you remember what ours is? Because we got the Pablos with you, me, and Dylan.
Yeah, we are.
You're checking the calendar right now, so you don't remember.
The 2000s, which I don't know why we're the 2000s.
Oh, probably because we love like the Resident Evil and
that's right.
Underworld.
Yes.
Yes, should have just been the Beckinsale boys. That's what it should have been.
The Beckinsale boys. I like it.
Yeah, so we will be back joining the other lads for Born Again, and keep your eye on the feeds, and we'll be popping up. Bye bye.
Bye bye.